Hey, uh, post-serotonin syndrome. I've made, I think, like 2 or 3 videos already, but I want to talk about the post part of this and some points I forgot. One reason I make this, two reasons I make this is for myself, but I also make this because as you look on the internet, on YouTube, you don't find much except for professors, or you might want to look up the doctors, you know, that show there about the serotonin syndrome. But there's no people talking about it, really. Not that I found. I developed this 3 times in my life. And I was an experimental person, younger. Uh, it's just a number of times I can count on my hand. I did cocaine or ecstasy. I just wanted to know, obviously, I wanted to know what it felt like. Um, so the last time that I tried it, so it was about my third time, I got, I felt like I was going to die, like quite literally. And then it ended up in a massive euphoria, hallucinations. I'm not talking about a bad trip here, I'm talking about the serotonin syndrome. Um, you know, my temperature had to have been up, it had to have been. It wasn't for a long time and it did go away. I don't have hallucinations, I don't get hallucinations, so that's how, partly how I know. I felt like death. But that's not the part. I have a predisposition to this. Um, so I'd had it twice for about a week on each occasion. And in 2004, so it's 2019 now, I took a medication, an uncommon one, hardly ever given out. So I had to ask for it. It's called an MAO inhibitor called Nardil, phenelzine. I'm not against these drugs, they're very effective, but they aren't known about their effects of what they can do to some people. Other people getting this with other drugs, there's more information, but for this, not so much. One of the first things that started to happen to me, there were two things. There were a few things. I got euphoria, and I thought I'd mistaken it for the drug working, but euphoria is not normal. I thought my anxiety was lifted, like a social anxiety was lifted, but it was euphoria. And the next thing that happened to me were mental status changes, so euphoria was part of it. Um, One of the warnings on Nardil is myoclonic jerks, and then the movement disorder started. I started to get jerks all over my body. It started off not so bad, and then it got extremely out of control. My mental status, I went in and out of confusion. Um, my parents, my friends, my doctors couldn't tell for any moment what was wrong with me because I have bipolar disorder. So I would end up in places and not know I was there. Places as far as 100 kilometers away, and this went on for 4 months. The drug was never taken away. Um, at some points, so they suspected, so they tested me for Huntington's, mad cow disease, in humans, MS, and they thought maybe the neuroleptic malignant syndrome, which likely would have killed me if that's what it was. Um, so I believe I had what they consider the oh yeah, hypertensive. I kept first of all, I got a hypertensive crisis. Rushed to the hospital with a very, very high blood pressure and a massive migraine. It happened once more, but nobody ever told me to get off the drug. And the reason I didn't get off was because I told them I thought I would be worse if I took it away. What is this? Um, Neurologist, psychiatrist, family doctor, they didn't tell me to come off. A lot of people who see this may say, well, it's your responsibility. And I'm telling you, No, it wasn't. I didn't know what I was doing. I would get in attacks of vertigo and just massive contractions in my legs. My mental was gone. I was in deliriums for up to a couple weeks at a time. Anyways, this is the post. So after about 4 months, I took half away of the Nardil, phenelzine, and the side effects started to go down. And then took it away completely. It went away completely, but I was left in an enormous amount of pain. And when I say enormous, I mean enormous. From all the movements, from all the myoclonic and whatever type of movements these were, and seizures, tore the back of my neck, and they say that the severity of pain I'm going through is called complex regional pain syndrome. I'm not too sure on that, okay? My pain is as bad as that, and it, the burning and the aching, I can't explain it to people, but this is post, and so what happened was in the 4th month, and they were telling me for a while there in the end to institute Valium, and I didn't want to take these drugs because I had been on them already. I had no choice, and I started taking Ativan, and then it became very apparent that it was stopping these movements. So in the end, it was I was put on 8 milligrams of Ativan, and so for all these years, 2004 or 5 to about a year and a half ago, they were pretty much blocked. But what, besides a lot of physical pain, I'm also, what Ativan and others didn't cover up was my hyperkinetic nature. So I'm back and forth pacing. At nighttime, I take medications that an anticholinergic, mirtazapine. It calms me down, lets me sleep through the night mostly, but I get movements at nighttime. And what I'm getting at is I took my Ativan mostly away. I took about 85% away about 2 years ago, and my movements came back. Whatever kind of movements there, I don't know, but it seems to be a whole mix of things. My daytime hyperkinesis, they seem to be choreic in nature, also possibly dystonic, and myoclonic, a whole mix of things. So this is post. I was left like this, and I have these permanent movement disorders, and so I make this video for both myself and other people because not other people are making this. From what I read, 26,000 people, I don't know if it's the world or the Western Hemisphere, get the serotonin syndrome. And how many people end up with permanent disability, I don't know. There's not a lot of information on that, or you have to look very deeply in things. I don't even use I'm so restless, I don't even use a cell phone. I just have an iPad. This is just to show you that I don't have, I don't really have the time. I'm too restless for these types of things. My life is very difficult now. I feel very bad for you if you've ended up in the same state as me. I've experienced the serotonin syndrome 3 times, and it was the 3rd time with an MAO inhibitor. So I had a hypertensive crisis, mental status changes, and movements. Whether or not I had hyperthermia or just a fever, I don't believe anyone ever checked. I didn't check, I don't think either. It was for a period of 4 months that this was going on. So if it was a neuroleptic malignant syndrome, I'd likely be dead if it went that long. The serotonin syndrome can go on for quite a long time. I just want to add that, and I just learned this the other day, but like it says people who have this, the reason isn't just the antidepressant they're taking, it's what they're taking with it. And I believe that, and at the time when I took this, I was taking other stuff as well with that, and was being given other stuff. As a matter of fact, my legs were so dystonic at the time, I could barely walk, and they gave me something called Mirapex, and that's an anti-Parkinson's drug. And I took it the day before, and the next day I woke up to knocking all in my walls, and everywhere I walked around, I tried to find it, and I couldn't find it. So it was producing it to get even worse. So I just guess my conclusion here is I'm still fighting to try to find exactly what it did. And what it did, quite obviously, it's left me in a hyperkinesis. And the more tired I get, and when I go to bed and try to lie down, holy crap, man. Quite the movements. And I covered mine up with CBD, high CBD, low THC, and I take painkillers. That's what I do. What else can I do? There's nothing you can really do. Keep healthy.